How was it?
Me first?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, very good. It's always a privilege to be competing here at the Lion. The arena is...
Microphone.
The mic. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, we're just going to pass it. Right? Yeah, it's always a privilege to compete here at the Lion. I have two fantastic 7-year-old horses here, which is we've been aiming all year for, so to have them here and competing in one piece and going really well is brilliant. And Le Lion is actually one of my favourite events, so very happy to be here.
Thank you. Julia? So how was it?
Today, I did my bit yesterday, and I have to say I love the fact that both Chile mornings have the same points of the dressage. They're very much alike, so I understand the judges. And apart from that, I mean, I really love to be here. Like Gemma said, also for my Chile morning was always with the plan to come here this year, and happy when it works out. And so far it's been going well, but I think there's enough to do for the next day.
Have you had him long?
I've had him since 3 years now. He came over when he was 4.
Yeah.
And all his family hasn't seen him since, so it's a bit of a reunion.
Have you ridden offsprings of Chile morning?
Loads.
Yeah.
All the time.
So I have many offspring. I actually have one 5-star with one of his offspring, Chili Knight, who's a wonderful horse who's placed at Badminton and Burley this year. And I have many more coming through. Chili King has just stepped up to 4-star level, and many more coming through. Also Jalapeno, who's been competing at a good level, and one at 4-star level. So yeah, many offspring. So it's kind of a little bit strange riding the clone, but at the same time, I try and treat him as if he's just he doesn't know he's a clone. No. I treat him as if he's just one of my horses, and I produce him as normal. Obviously, when Julia went and did such a good test yesterday, I was very worried and hoped that I could be, you know, within a few marks of Julia, but I definitely didn't expect to be on the same score because I don't think I'm as good as Julia, but you know, we give it a good go, and we're really happy to be on the same score and excited for tomorrow. But exactly like Julia said, there's plenty to do in the cross country. I think it's a tough course, and because of all the rain, it's definitely the ground is soft, and I think the time will be quite tight. So yes, we have a fantastic dressage, but we have to optimize still.
Is he a good cross-country horse?
So far he's been a fantastic cross-country horse, but he's inexperienced and there's things out there he's never seen. So I'll be looking after him, holding his hand, and hopefully he'll answer the questions that are there. It's all about building for the future, and you know, well, yes, we're going to go and be as competitive as we can, but both my horses are very exciting for the future, so we'll be hoping to give them a good experience.
Thank you. Lizzie now? So, for a first visit here, it's quite, you make quite an impression.
Maybe beginner's luck, maybe. But yeah, my first time here at Le Lion, and yeah, so far it's been incredible, and it's such an incredible venue. Everybody said, oh, you know, you really should aim for Le Lion. That has been the aim with this horse all season. So to get here, it's you know, great to get here, and yeah, for her to go into that arena today and do a test like that is really good. And she's a good horse, you know, she's very capable of producing a very smart dressage test. She's lovely on the flat, she's lovely to ride. But to go in there and hold it together in the atmosphere, and yeah, she was just incredible. I couldn't have asked any more from her today. So yeah, we'll see how tomorrow goes.
Did you produce her from the beginning?
Yeah, so I bought her as a 4-year-old. So I've had her for 3 years, and yeah, she's always had a lovely break. And in the beginning, as a 4-year-old, she wasn't necessarily one that would say like flash over a fence. She would she would do just enough, and she would trot round very nicely, canter around very nicely. But as she's strengthened and developed, she's really become, you know, into the horse that she is now. Really smart, and she's a good jumper, and she's a good cross-country horse as well. It'd just be interesting to see how she copes with the crowds. That's the only thing she hasn't really seen yet. So it'll be an experience, you know. Like Gemma said, it's all about producing her for the future. She's got to learn, you know, to see the crowds, and hopefully it'll be a positive experience for her going forward.
Because it's your first time here, we don't know you, so can you tell us a few words about yourself and...
Yeah, so I'm 27, obviously from England. I went to university and got an undergrad degree and a master's degree, and then ended up doing horses full time. So I do horses full time now, based at home on a family farm, and yeah, just, you know, producing horses up through the levels. Had my first ride at 5-star level this year as well, so okay.
Good, thank you.
And what did you study?
Equine sports science was the undergrad, and then equine performance was the master's degree.
Lizzie spoke about the crowd and the importance it can have with 7-year-old horses. For you both, with the chilly morning, how do you think they will perform with the crowd? Have you already an idea, or?
So I think my chili, the first time I ever heard applause when I finished my dressage.
Yeah.
What's that? I have no idea.
Okay.
He, being a British bred horse in a way, he's never done our young horse championships,
Yeah.
where they sometimes experience more crowd. And usually there are not too many people around when I do a 2-star or 3-star. So I don't know, he usually is not too impressed by things, but then horses like to surprise you. So ask me again tomorrow evening. If I make it here, he did well.
Thanks.
Did you talk together? Do you think they have the same mind and the same personality?
Yeah, we talk a lot about them. And usually we agree that they're very similar.
Yeah.
Who has number 3? Do you know number 3?
Alex Wetton.
Alex one time.
Oh yeah, so...
Yeah, they definitely are very similar in many, many ways. And we have similar problems and similar good things. Like sometimes they can be a little bit spooky and holding themselves back about jumping off a big drop or into somewhere unknown. I think it's where they are actually very clever, so they have to learn to trust. But they're also very generous and brave horses, and they want to please and do the right thing. So I think it's our job to hold their hand and tell them that it's okay.
And in that respect, are they similar to the original Chilly Morning?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So when he was a young horse, he actually had a couple of mistakes at exactly the same thing, jumps going into somewhere where he couldn't see. I remember he made a mistake at Captain Park where you have to jump number 3, which is straight down into the unknown and dark, and he was like, whoa, don't understand what to do there. So I think they are very similar to the original. I think in stature they're very slightly smaller, which for me and Julia is fine. Because William Foxbit rode the original and he's 6'6", so this is fine.
Yeah, that's the impression of the game.
Alex's one actually, Alex Ratton's one is slightly taller. Because I had them when they were babies all through to their 4-year-old year. We broke them in at home at Chris and Lisa Stone's, and then rode them as a 4-year-old, and how could I choose? I had to choose, how could I choose? I sent the tallest one to Alex, and we were having
the smallest one to me. And
conversation. Literally, it's so difficult to choose, but Julia's one is very, very slightly smaller. And I liked mine because it has 3 white dots on his neck. It's pretty. So I was no other way that I could choose. I just very, very slightly preferred the look of my one. Honestly, they're both the same. They are very similar, and they're wonderful horses. Yeah.
Parce que celle qui les a eu au tableau des bois, what are the links with the... You rode the original as a young horse?
No, the original Chile Morning was produced at a 5-star level by Nick Gauntlet in the UK.
It's actually a German horse.
Yes, a German.
Yes.
There we go back. It's Peter Thomson's yard?
Yeah.
I think from Peter Thomson's yard. And then
right.
moved to England.
Yeah, so Chris and Lisa, who own the original and own all 3 clones, bought Chile Morning, the original, from Peter Thompson as a 5-year-old. And then placed the horse with Nick Gauntlet. And he produced the horse up to when he was, I think, 11. And then the horse went to William Foxpitt. And William and that horse were the best partnership. They were just fantastic. They won so much. And yeah, and it was decided way before that they were going to clone him. And the fact that they got 3 was something ridiculous, like 1 in 10 million chance. It was such a surprise that they got 3. They were they were only expecting to get 1.
Oh yes, because I don't know how this works, but from one go, normally it's like embryo transfer. You get normally 1.
Yeah,
possibly
sometimes
2, never 3.
Possibly 2.
Yeah, and never 3.
So this is a complete freak situation, and you know the owners are so excited. Chile Morning was their absolute pride and joy. They adored him. And they did this as a project, as a kind of test, and they're so excited that we're here with the 2 and for their future.
Yes, because it's not very common practice to clone a stallion. Mostly they've cloned geldings.
So they're not so interested in the breeding. They are. My one actually has some frozen semen, so obviously can reproduce, and Julia's one is still a stallion. My one has actually been gelded, but they did this as
as
a project, as a test,
that's an interesting
something that is interesting. And you know, there are a lot of people that don't agree with it, but it's, you know, they're horses. He's a horse in my yard which we are very fond of. We adore him, and yes, he's a clone, but we think of him as our horse that we produce for the future. And whether you agree with that or not, we love him to bits, and we'll want to produce him and do the best for him.
I would like to say one thing on that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You should have number 3. Sorry, Lizzie.
I was thinking about this because there are always people who say, cloning and this and that. I have to say, I find it so exciting and so cool to have people like the Stones who are so invested in eventing in the sport, that they do this sort of thing for themselves, but also for the sport, a bit for breeding. I mean, I don't think cloning will be the future of breeding. I mean, if you take the same amount of money and go buy 5, 6 young ones, you potentially also have a superstar horse. And it's everyone's decision to use a clone stallion or not. But I personally find it very interesting and fascinating, and I would love to see offsprings of all 3 of the same mare and see what happens. Because we were wondering, they're very similar, but they have different characters, and what does upbringing do, and what does the rider do, or the country they come up in. And for example, today Gemma said, oh, it's spooky at the flowers, and I was never worried about the flowers because we go to different shows and mine has seen so many flowers. So I think it's a great thing if you have people like that who so much love the sport that they do this thing. And I find we have to be very open-minded, and then everyone can do what he wants.
I can tell you that Chris and Lisa Stone are one of the most passionate people in the sport of event.
And do they still own the 3?
Yes.
Yeah. She said. And how did they choose which riders to send them to?
I did.
You did.
No, sorry.
But I got a call 3.5 years ago from Chris Stone, which I only knew from Event Rider Masters. Yeah. And he asked me if I would like to ride a clone of Chile Morning. I was like, well, yeah. My parents are geophysicists, so I have a little bit of a, how you call it,
scientist
background. So I find it interesting and it fascinates me. And like Gemma said, for us, they are horses. Like they don't know they're a clone, obviously. and we do so much in human, how do you say, fortpflanzung?
Gene research.
And what I think, why not? I find it's really fascinating, and in the end, they are just horses to us in the first place.
The thing is, they don't have problems because with the sheep, so remember Dolly, she was older than her age. There were problems with the cloning, but with your horses, it does not seem to.
Cells seem to age faster than in
Well, we don't know. I mean, for now, he very much feels like 7 at best. But I mean, it's how can you know if you don't try?
No.
Worst case is they maybe have a bit shorter career, but then you never know, is it because of that or something else? And I would say, give it a chance.
They just had these 3. Those 3, they did not have females or.
Or if you clone, it's a male.
You could have done something else. I don't know.
But it's
But
not
they
very
would then be changing it.
Yeah.